So out here in the countryside, it's pretty hard to go around without, knives and stuff. And people have wondered, why do I have two knives? For example, this, and then next to something like this. These are basically like brothers and sisters. This is the knife that I use as like a crowbar. So it's got a very thick spine. That's not rust, that's from being batoned. So this is my batoning stick. And as you can see, it has a very intense wedge. So it's not really for anything much more than splitting and batoning and abusing. And I made it kind of looking like a Dirk, because if it had sort of any other protrusions, a guard or whatever, it would simply take up a little bit too much space. It's very light and very strong. It's very hard to go wrong with a ring around the bolster. The spine of the knife is in contact with the top of the ring, and the belly of the blade is also in contact with the ring. I do that with nearly all of these designs. You'll see a lot of knife makers, they avoid that, but it doesn't take long when you're batoning or chopping something for those handles to split open. And you'll see a really big mistake people make is they'll put like an integral forged bolster in a handle that doesn't have a ring around it. It depends on the handle material, of course. If you have carbon fiber or whatever, it's no big deal, but like you're really asking for that a blade to come ripping out of that handle. And I've seen it happen to almost every single knife that's rat tail and doesn't have a ring at the front. And if you look at almost every single old sword, katanas, most things that were built in the past, the bladed weapons, they do actually have rings. And here, this is my katana edged Rönnberg Bowie. So Rönnberg is my last name, and this is my personal Rönnberg Bowie design. It's made of 115 CRV3 steel. And with this, I basically turn the cuttings with this knife, the choppings from the logs, and I carve the fire starting material out of it with this. I use this for slaughter. I use this for cooking all my food. I use this for very delicate work, skinning, gutting. It takes a fraction of the time. Like one person with this knife will be faster than like 2 or 3 people with the tiny knives on any given carcass. Of course, it's a skill thing. If you're really skilled at it, then you're probably, I don't know, you'll have to test the knife actually. So yeah, this is my most favorite designs of all the blades I make. And funny enough is I forge everything. This is actually stock removed. And what's nice about stock removal is you can actually focus a lot on finish much more easily. So this is my most proud design, and you shall see there there's a dowel inside the wood, and there's a lot of that glue. So there's actually multiple layers of wood inside this handle to add strength and lamination. So the ring isn't just supporting the oak, and this is the finest carpentry oak from Germany. It's pretty tainted and darkened now, but it's the highest quality. It comes from the top woodworking artisans, cabinet makers in the whole country. And then I have here a little purple wood plug with a brass stud there just to add a little character. And as you can see, I haven't actually pinned it anywhere, and that's because when I made this, I wanted to see how far this blade could go without a pin. And yeah, I've had it, I don't know how much I've used this blade, like 2 years or something, and it's never needed a pin. It really hasn't. I was actually thinking to myself that I wasn't going to put a pin on there. You see it protrudes a lot. That's actually the lock. The pin is the locking mechanism for the sheath. So listen, you see. So that was pretty clever. And the skin, I mean, the skin on my hands is thick enough so that I can have as many of these sticking out of a handle and it doesn't bother me. I mean, I was looking at some pictures of some old Bowie knives and daggers, and they're covered in rivets, the whole handle. And I'm thinking to myself that that's actually kind of nice, like for grip. It might be uncomfortable if you have like sort of softer skin, but the thicker your skin is in your hand, the more jagged surfaces you can take, and those jagged surfaces will dig into that thick skin, and thus you have a much lower chance of losing your knife if you got wet hands or whatever. So I thought that was pretty interesting. My hands are not still thick enough to actually take on some of the handles I've seen in museums, though. But knowing how much harder those people were working in their lives on fields like this here, much bigger, I wouldn't be surprised if they had thicker skin. And yeah, so that's why I have the two blades. This is for fine work. You can't chop with this. Okay, yeah, you sort of can. I mean, I've chopped at bones with this, and yeah, it went like the chips came, but they were tiny little chips, very very tiny, and so it took a few hours to take care of them on the stones. But yeah, this is really really intense. Now, when I make these, I don't make them with this katana edge because like you need to, a katana edge like that is something you're gonna have to just take care of every single day, all the time. Like you can't just get the knife, use it all summer, all year, and then be like, oh, it needs sharpening, because by that time it's so wrecked. It's really really sensitive. You gotta have to. This video is too long now, so, but yeah, in terms of having a blade like this with the edge that goes all the way down, super super nasty. This just, I don't know if you guys have read the Subtle Knife, the book. This is kind of like what this is. This is just super sharp in every direction, and I love it. I mean, you can't convince me anymore that any other knife in the world is better than this for skinning. I mean, this is two knives in one. You see, and I use the clip point for everything. I chop everything, cooking sausages, bread, slicing everything, slaughter everything, just skinning. It's amazing for skinning. You got the legs, you just go, and like literally just a few passes, and then you just do the rest, and you're done.